Hey, hey, Emilio, how you doing today, brother?
Living the dream. In case you're curious, that was my truck going through the car wash.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
wondering that I was going, man,
if,
a serious jam going on there in the intro, man. But what is that again?
if anybody's wondering, I wash my truck probably once every days. Not too often because I live on a dirt road, but that was the one time I took it out because my wife was going to borrow my truck. So
Yeah,
I was scared. So my daughter and I ran to the car wash and washed it for her. I mean, for me,
yeah,
just in case she wanted to borrow it later on.
got it. That's some good husbandry action going on there, sir. Well, welcome everyone to our next edition here today of Getting Certified. I'm Mark Holman, Chief Community Officer here at RBLP Leadership Certifications, and I have with me today Mr. Emilio Natalio. Uh, how's things going?
It's actually humid. The sun is coming out finally. We've had 2 days of torrential downpour
Ah,
because it's Florida. So here we are.
yeah, for what it's worth, I'm in Maryland, and that went for 2 days here, and it decided to stop now eventually this morning. So, yes. Um, so, so we're going to talk about today is going through the curriculum and getting certified. Obviously, there's depending on which level of certification you're looking to earn. There's an RBLP coach, and RBLP trainer, and in that order, it's for frontline supervisors, managers, and senior managers. So everybody has a seat at the table. Everybody has an opportunity to get certified at where they're at in their professional career. And we have been taking an opportunity to go through the CompTIA domains, kind of speak to them, to make folks aware who may not be fully up to speed about what is on this thing, what kind of courses do I take, what do we dive into. And the one thing to point out and just to clarify, um, it would be odd if you were in the right category, that you would see the CompTIA domains and go, oh my gosh, create a positive climate. Why should a leader do that? You would never say that. That would be like home plate for you and going, yeah, no kidding. But we deep dive into those. And just to let you know, this was based off the research that we did in 2018 and 2019, um, for what was happening in the place of work and how that came back and folded into breaking it down into actually five competency domains. And we teach that over 7 modules. If depending on what level, it could be 3, it could be 5, it could be 7, depending on which level you're sitting for. So we're talking about developing cohesion. That's what we moved on to today. So as you can see there, this is the intro to this section, talking about, developing team cohesion is what we're talking about, is essential for building and leading resilient teams. By fostering strong, supportive, and dependable relationships within the team, managers overall well-being, reduce stress, and promote creativity and collective decision making. Cohesive teams are more capable of overcoming adversity in the workplace, and we all know we have that in the workplace. Developing cohesion does boost teamwork. It's been proven. The research has been there, and you'll see that more cohesive teams, they can work through adversity and come out stronger on the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an opportunity to go through this and just kind of speak to each one of the leader tasks. And Emilio's bringing up for us. The first one is analyze team cohesion. And so you'll notice that on all of the, when you enter a new section, whether it be create a positive climate, develop cohesion, provide purpose, facilitate team learning, and support organizational learning, you'll find out that the first leader task that comes up is talking about analyzing that team cohesion, or analyze and fill in the blank when we're on it. So you'll notice that part of this, an important part of this, is that when you, as a leader, you've all probably been out there and you've seen this, that cohesive teams, when you build those cohesive teams, they're going to see that teams will stick together, they'll remain united, even in the face of adversity. When things go haywire, we've all had that in our career. Sounded great on paper, we start executing, it's not really what we thought it was going to be. So we work together as a team, and you might have different sections, folks in the IT section that are providing the coding for something, and people who are doing the curriculum or what have you. So that has to come together, and teams have to work together to get through this challenge. Um, and the research that we showed on this topic particularly is that, we break this down and talk about that a lot of times cohesion really is a dynamic construct. And truthfully, Social cohesion, that's the strength of relationships, sense of solidarity among your team members there. And then you have task cohesion. So social cohesion, task cohesion, which is how well the team works together to achieve the common goals and objectives we're all trying to get to here. And we're, trying to get this thing done and get through the other side and continue to move on. So you might have seen this in your career, that when people actually are in a cohesive team, you'll notice something about that team, that they're more flexible, creative, and open to new ideas, because we all want to put the ideas on the table and get the best of the best going. So this is the first one that you introduced to, is analyze team cohesion. Emilio, anything you'd like to add on that, sir?
Well, if I remove the mute button off my mic here to help out, no,
Sure.
I think you hit it perfectly. I think analyzing that team cohesion is very important at the end of the day, and then going through each of these sub steps here and understanding how they kind of come together is really important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that brings us to our next leader task that you find in develop cohesion, which is organize people to work in teams. And a lot of times you'll find individual contributors, and you'll find some leaders who they really don't bring a team together to sit down and hash through some of the challenges and stuff. But this is important, and you'll see it in some of the teams that really depend on each other. They have that open communication, and you'll find that teams benefit from a diverse experience and expertise, right? So, your team may self-organize. We've seen that before, right? You haven't said anything about it, but they all started huddling up, and they're matching, wits about, oh, what about this? Did you notice that? They're having those conversations to get to what right looks like, and that's not always so easy. But establishing and building and developing a cohesive team, folks will continue to start doing this. They'll continue on and on about this because they know that it reduces the stress. We all have something we can look at and we can contribute. So, a lot of times working in teams themselves, of individuals, creates the potential for shared leadership also. So they'll start taking on, I've got that piece. Don't worry, I'll lead front on that, and I can brief everybody at the end of the week. Those type of things will start happening with folks because you have created the environment for which them to thrive. And this shared leadership that we're talking about here, it can be especially effective during times of adversity. We've all had that somewhere in our career. We're going down a path, getting something done, produced, what have you. And it just goes to heck in a handbasket, and we're going, okay. So we all get together. We got we got a short timeline. We start putting our heads together and start working as a team to really get to what right looks like, whatever that might be for the delivery. So any questions or comments there? Do you like to add there, Emilio?
No, I think the shared leadership thing is, I always use this simple example of it's Friday morning, and you're working at the hangar, and they come out and say, hey, if we get done early today, if we get the hangar cleaned up, mopped, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we could probably break early today and have a longer weekend. And that's where that shared leadership comes in, where people start breaking. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll hit sweeping first while you guys do this. And then the next guy's like, oh, I'll hit the mop team, and we'll hit the mopping, the squeegee, and then we'll start reorganize. And it kind of you kind of self-direct yourself and kind of share that leadership amongst the group, because there is one common goal of kind of going home early at the end of the day, which is fun to watch, just because it's like watching just a bunch of stuff getting done, and you're like, oh, that's kind of fun. Who's in charge? And there's one guy in charge over here somewhere, but they've all kind of self-organized and said, oh, I'd like to mop, or it's therapeutic or something. And
Right.
they start going through that way. So that's was always fun to watch that happen when that kind of stuff. Even at the lowest, at lowest level there, just getting home early opposed to like a big, huge project. You could still use this concept. Same
Absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% right. It has many shapes that it can take in the place of work. That's for sure. All right, well, that takes us down to the third leader task in develop cohesion, which is promote trust between team members. Teams over time, they will develop two things here, and this is what the research came back and showed us, that there's social trust, right, between team members, which is, having that faith that others on the team have good intentions, and they will not harm your interest, right? So we're working together. And then the task trust comes into place. So you have social trust, and then task trust is being able to confidently rely on others to do their part to get the job done, right? So you're one person on a part of a team, and you can't do it all. You got to depend on each other. And that promoting trust between team members, that helps develop the cohesion of the team. They become tighter. And you think about it, most team building events that you think back in your career are aimed at promoting social trust and cohesion. So that's where you notice this will start picking up with your team. Some leaders, I've I've gone on teams where it's like, well, that's your cubicle, right? But who do I collaborate with? Well, you just stay in your cubicle. Yeah, you picked the wrong guy. I don't know. I build teams, so whole different kettle of fish on how people look at it. But you know, and there are ways that leaders can promote social trust by providing opportunities for their people to get to know each other, right? So they can promote task trust by team members actually recognizing people for their competence and their contributions to the team. And leaders, you always have to be attentive though, and on on caution there when you start to see loss of trust between team members. That's not one of the things you can't sit back and go, well, I guess it'll just work itself out. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's worth bringing those groups of people or individuals together and say, hey, I've been noticing some things. Am I seeing this wrong? Well, what happened was, and I don't really think they're gonna. So okay, we need to get this ironed out. And if it's an apology, a miscommunication, we just need to get to the bottom of it, because we can't let that fester over time, which it will, if you just go by it and just blow it off and don't even really ask or bring it to anyone's attention, start having conversations about it. So once you get there and you establish that that task trust and social trust, and you start seeing it starting to have chips in it, you need to ask some questions. It could be something simple. It could be something more deeply embedded that you're not aware of yet. So it's always good to ask.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Emilio?
Well, I think, and I'll give an example. I guess I think the ultimate example, and no one knows her in this, maybe out in the internet world, out there in the World Wide Web, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie, our director of program support,
Mm-hmm.
the epitome, personification of task trust.
Mm-hmm.
I could put something in our team's chat, and I can forget about it because I know it's done. I know it's done before I hit the enter button. I mean, it's
Right.
just, it's complete. It's
Right.
done because she is meticulous. We built that trust together where we
Right.
would back and forth a little bit, kind of talking here, talking there, building that relationship. And now it's like she'll send me something, and she fires and forgets because she knows that I'm going to get it done what she needs, and then
Right.
vice versa. It is, and at the end, there's just a quick text, complete, kind of thing. We know when we know that, kind of thing. Then we'll meet probably once every week and kind of catch up on the social trust side, right? Where we're just talking and seeing how the kids are doing in school.
Mm-hmm.
What are the teenage woes in life?
Right.
What's going on here? How's the weather in California? Building that trust back up.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of make sure we don't lose it. And then task trust, we'll go through and kind of look at some of the tasks we did last week just to make sure that we're on point.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say every time it's done. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to. I don't even think about it for a second there. So it's kind of nice to have that task
Absolutely.
trust and be able to do that because it relieves a lot of things off your plate, so you can move on to
Mm-hmm.
something else,
That's
kind
right.
of thing, and vice versa for her, right? So you can
Yeah.
this is more Emilio's arena. I'll shift it to him. He can get it done real quick,
Yeah.
and then we can kind of move our chess pieces around a little bit. So that's those two things are really important to me. Just the trust issue on both sides, either social and task, because once you lose one, it's hard to get it back at the end
It
of the
is.
day. And now you're just kind of breathing down each other's necks. Going, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Is it done? Is it
Yeah.
done? And it's like,
Right.
oh, get off my back. So,
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Um, okay. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about ensure mutual respect between team members. A lot of times people look at this and go, yeah, well, of course that should be. Is it always? Is it always? And we know this, that and we've all seen this in our careers. Without the mutual respect between team members, cohesion cannot develop. If you don't have respect for one another already, we're in the negative. So we have to work on that. Uh, and you'll notice little sort of signs, right? So perhaps uh, it can be gauged by the tone of a person's and their voice, their body language, and we know that courtesy and kindness are indicators of respect. That's a fact. Ensuring mutual respect between the team members, that helps develop the cohesion. Um, will we always see eye to eye on everything or the approach or the solution? No, but that's why we hash it out. We work through it. And perhaps, some of what this person's saying is relevant, and another team member says something else that we need to consider. But it's mutual respect and being respectful of everyone's opportunity to share and things of that nature. So, in leaders, quite frankly, for this one especially, you need to be attentive to disrespectful treatment between team members when things are going out of line. Okay, you can't sit around and go, oh, it'll fix itself now. Okay, nope, we're gonna have a conversation. What's going on here? This is a bit confusing to me. What's the animosity here? And then sometimes you'll see some people on a team where they're reluctant to speak up for themselves, right? And that's the leader's responsibility to address that disrespectful behavior in the workplace. I've caught myself in this, and when I went through this several years back, I could reflect back on my past leader follower experiences in my career, and I can tell you that that's one of the things that I really had zero tolerance for. Especially people who were somewhat quiet and reserved. They were getting shut down, and that's not how we treat one another. Not on this team anyway. So these are some important things we're going to talk about. Ensure mutual respect between team members, and leaders need to be really cognizant of this. They can't just ignore it and go, it'll work itself out eventually, I guess. Okay, I guess is not a course of action. Okay, it's just not. That's a blow it off, and I hope it doesn't get worse, because it will. It always does. So, Emilio, anything to add there, sir?
No, like you said, it seems pretty self-explanatory. At the end of the day, mutual respect, but you do get those little pockets of disrespect between, even from the leader to the follower, and in reverse on the other side. Body language. You mentioned body language, and body language to me speaks volumes. If you can say that kind of thing. Rolling the eyes. Just like not really attentive. Kind of. If you're busy, just say, put the pen down, give me 10 minutes. Let me finish this. Let me kind of thing, opposed to, I had one boss who would have write a pen. Yeah. It's like, okay, I don't want to talk to you. That just seems like we're not going to get anywhere at this point in time. It just seems like we've already started on the wrong foot, and I just knocked on the door saying, hey, you busy? No? Okay. Kind of thing. So, but again, it seems self-explanatory. It seems easy because you want to be respected, as a person, as an employee, as a follower, as a leader. It's a two-way street. At the end of the day, it has to be both ways, right? So you just can't expect people to respect you if you're not respecting them at the same time.
Exactly. Next leader task we come to and develop cohesion is train the team. And when we talk about training the team, obviously everybody who comes aboard an organization, there is that onboarding where people go through and they meet with HR and different folks and so forth, so on. And they have this over the course of 2, 3, 4 days, depends on the organization. And that's not what we're talking about. That's automatic. It's built. It's baked into the whole process at the organizational level for the company. But, team training is what we're talking about. Team training it's an iterative process. You don't just snap your fingers and get everything done. You have to kind of over time keep layering this, right? And that iterative process that occurs as teams work together over time. You'll start seeing them start to kind of share ideas and kind of come together and go, ooh, yeah, let's do what we did on the last one. That worked really good. Yeah, I like that, so forth, so on. But we have to get there. We don't just wake up and all put 10 strangers together on a team. They all know that. It takes a little time, and you always want to continue to have the on-the-job training, right? It's situated, it's a real experience, and it should be continuous. You can't just do it every once in a while. You need, maybe once, twice a month. We're going to go over this, and then constructive feedback from leaders and team members is essential, and it should be a habit. It just should be a habit out there. Regularly scheduled formal team training should augment any on-the-job training situations you have, right? So training the team helps develop cohesion, right? So when you're training the team, they're learning more, they're understanding more about the processes or or about the resources or whatever in the organization, you'll find that people will latch onto that and they will continue to add that in to their consideration or solution or what have you. But if I don't know about it, good luck. Maybe I'm guessing, but it's the old expression, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. So leaders need to take the lead on this. And then as teams, they start to learn and new knowledge and skills together. They develop that social cohesion that will start happening, and task cohesion and collective efficacy. But this is where you see the collective efficacy, where that team actually knows that they can meet the challenges and they complete the task and they become more confident to do that successfully again and again over time, because they know that, together we're very powerful. Me sitting in my cube trying to figure out the world, it's going to take a long time. But you will also notice that when teams have collective efficacy amongst themselves, they are better prepared to overcome adversity together. They won't just leave somebody hanging or back and, hey, I got done early today. Hey, I noticed on the way out, here's Sally or Kevin, and they've got some stuff. Hey, what you got going on over there? Oh, we have to count these things up, and then we have to get them into the system. And then, well, can I help? Yeah, if you could count them up, that'd be great. Sure. Technically I'm not off for like another 30 minutes. Sure, I can jump in and help you do that. And they would do the same for you. And so that's the type that you're trying to establish here. When you train the team, they start learning and understanding how things come together. Anything to add there, Emilio?
Nope, you hit nail, head, hammer.
Okay.
It seems like you maybe discussed this once or twice.
Yeah. I've taught this curriculum many times over the years, and I love it. I love having these conversations. I love diving into them, and especially throwing a question out there and seeing everybody comes from a different type of organization and they do it a little differently. But eventually, some people go, you know what? That's kind of what I do. I didn't know it had a name. I didn't know it was a name for it. I thought it was just what I was supposed to do. You're on the right track, but yes, there's actually a name for it. And they go, oh, okay, that's good to know. So the next thing we move into is leader task 6 there, manage expectations, right? So I'm sure everybody sitting here watching this today, plans don't always go as expected, right? It was the old expression, you want to make God laugh, tell him you got a plan. Yeah, he goes, I got a plan too. You just haven't found it yet. So being mentally prepared for the unexpected, that enables proactive coping. And that's what should be happening there. Proactive coping, and we know people that can minimize the stress and expected adversity. It's not like a surprise every time. People learn from that and go, okay, that's something we need to consider. And that's okay. We have a backup for that. We've got an alternate plan we could shift to for that. But that managing the expectation itself, it helps the team maintain that sense of control in the face of adversity. There's nothing crazier when you're trying to manage expectations and help develop that cohesion. When that's not being done, when things go awry, you'll see chaos break out, and then people are more stressed, and then they're panicking. And so this is where we manage expectations. Not everything is going to go as expected. We've got a plan B, a plan C. We've thought through this. If that does this, we can do that. This is our fallback. So having that as a leader, a lot of times people say, I don't want to be all negative. I don't want to be negative with my team. No. It's not negative at all. Actually, it's being a realist, because life doesn't always go as we expect. No matter how much we plan for it or run some testing on it or what have you, sometimes it goes awry. It just does. So we don't panic. We pull together, get to the problem. We start divvying it up. Everybody's doing their piece. We get it back online. Okay. Yeah. And leaders need to be prepared for that, need to prepare their teams for that. So this is about developing that cohesion where we all pull together. Any thoughts you want to share there, Emilio?
Yeah, I think managing expectations is, I think for your followers or anybody who's a leader, it's just one of the most critical ones, right? Because if you have all the knowledge and all the key points in your head, well, you probably need to share that a little bit, right? You probably need to kind of say, hey, this is what I'm expecting. This is what you can expect. You would probably get off work a little later tonight because of X, Y, Z, because the delivery isn't coming in till noon. We have to get this out by 5, so we have to we have to hustle, or we might have to a little overtime later on.
Hmm.
Manage the expectation, because that's good. If you manage expectations, even about, let's say, simple as a schedule,
Hmm.
right? You can take care of dinner later on. You can say, hey, I can't get my kids at 3 o'clock. I gotta get arrangements. I can manage expectations, and kind of start working other things behind the scenes, kind of thing. I can start getting the other stuff ready for tomorrow's stuff, because I know I'm going to be delayed 3 hours because of this one thing. I can work on this other thing here because I know I'm not waiting for this. So you can manage it,
Right.
and that's all people want is just
Hmm.
information. At the end of the
Right.
day, you can deal with information, good, bad, or ugly, right?
Hmm.
But at least you know, kind of thing.
Right.
That's, to me, that's always the point. I'd rather know now than uh, 30 minutes after it happened,
Right.
because now, because
Right.
now I'm reacting, right?
Exactly.
And that's and
Exactly.
that's
Got
and
it.
that causes way worse problems down the road. I mean, just,
Hmm.
if you start reacting, doing knee jerk reactions, and start trying to, start putting your finger in the dam to stop the water, now you're running out of things to plug up the cracks. Now what do you do? Now you're going behind. Now you're
Right.
getting behind again. So if you can manage your
Right.
expectations, man, it's so much easier, and so much. It still might hurt a little bit, you know,
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
little, a tiny bit, but at least you know it's coming, right?
Right.
And you can kind of swing this way. Or if it's like, let's say, like my example of deliveries, coming
Mhm.
late, right? Hey, deliveries coming late. We can't do anything before noon. Either A, work on project Charlie Delta Echo, or everybody come in late. Come in, have a later show time. Come in
Mhm.
at 10:30. Then we'll start working.
Mhm.
We'll start prepping, and then when the delivery comes, we're all ready, rock and roll, so we can all go together. And that way, your expectations are managed. Oh, okay. Well, I don't have to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning and wait 6 hours for his delivery. Oh, God, and just sit around and just kind of twiddle my thumbs. I can
Right.
do other things. So that's what I always think about managing. If you share the information,
Right.
loads and loads better.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. No, that's spot on. What you were talking about, it reminded me of when I had a team, and this team, I had a component of a section on my larger team, and they did all the IT, coding, the whole 9 yards. And I had this new guy that came to the team. He was going to be leading the team. The other guy had retired, and he comes in, and I said, "This looks great." I said, "It's a really good, solid plan, everything." I said, "So let me ask you a question. What's Plan B if this goes awry?" What are you talking about? I said, "Well, life happens to all of us. We don't get to choose it. Just that's why it's called a surprise." I said, "So what's the fallback? Does everybody know? Is that documented somewhere on, hey, if this thing doesn't go through, if it gets stuck somewhere in the deployment, what do we do? How do we reverse that? Who does what?" Well, we've never had that problem. Well, I tell you what, humor me. Write up the plan B on what would happen if, when you're deploying this code, it doesn't want to sync. Okay, who does what? Just parse it out, lay it out. Who does what? What's the rollback method? What's the time hack we have to get there? He goes, "Oh, okay, fine, I'll put it together." He came back, he gave it to me. We had a few discussions, a couple of tweaks here and there, nothing really major. And then he went back. They did 4 deployments on IT software, on that contract, and everything went out without a hitch. And I was asking, "We still got Plan B?" "Yeah, I got the Plan B. I got the Plan B." And the fifth time, it blew up,
Yeah, of
and they
course.
had to
Yeah, it's
roll
good.
all that code all the way back out and put the old code back up and load it back up so that it would be functional for when people came in at 6:30 in the morning on site, right?
Yeah.
And he came to after they were fixing the problem and got it all hammered. He gave me a brief, and I said, "So how'd that recall pull back?" He goes, "I've never had a single leader I've ever worked with ever asked me for this, but you know what? From now on, this is my new normal, because you know
Yeah.
what? I got a little cocky, a little full of myself, because my people are good. Oh, I do not disagree. They're great, but life happens to us." He said, "Yep, I'm
Hmm.
keeping this thing." So, it's just,
Yeah.
hey, humor me. And he had it. And I knew eventually life is going to kick us in the head, man. That's just the way it
Yeah.
works.
Well,
Uh,
I'll even add to that, kind of spin it before we end up on leader task number 7, right? So you said
mhm,
the IT department was rolling out an update that was
mhm.
going to impact other people, right?
Yeah. 4 sites in
Did
4 different states.
Right. So did they manage expectations for the other 4 states, 4 sites
No.
on that side of the house? Because if that didn't happen, let's say plan A worked all the way through until the 2 minute mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
6:28.
Mm-hmm.
At 6:31, people roll it in, turn on their laptops, doing what they gotta do, and they're getting the blue screen of death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was do you got to think as a team? It's a team here, but then you're part of a team, part of a larger team, part if you're in a bigger organization, right? So you're impacting
Mm-hmm.
different things. So you should be able to help manage expectations for the others too, because they don't know
Mm-hmm.
what's happening. I
Right.
mean, just like every other IT update that you get, it's usually in the middle of the night that you don't
Mm-hmm.
know about, and you only
Mm-hmm.
know about it if it doesn't work. Then what do I do? What
Right.
happens then? Now I'm stuck. Now my
Yeah.
email to you about X contract, X thing, X whatever is now delayed. And now, so maybe, if you think of the big hole here is, my little portion, I manage expectations there, have my plan B,
Mm-hmm.
or even plan C, plan, all the way to Z
Right.
if you want to
Right.
get there. But you also need to say, hey, uh, here's what's going to happen at between midnight and 6:28 in the morning. You might want to get these things pushed out before midnight or 11:59 on this night, but just in case, because manage expectations. Because at 6:20 at 6:31, I'm open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Head.
but a lot of people forget about that. They forget about that. It's your what you do is a ripple effect, right? And
Yeah.
within your
Absolutely.
team, and then if you're a bigger organization, right, it does impact
Yeah.
different departments and different elements, and you kind of gotta help them manage their
Mm-hmm.
expectations, right?
Yeah.
On their side of the house, because if not, it's coming back to you, and it's coming back to you hard, hard, and even heavier. So if you
Yeah.
get the word out earlier,
Right.
a little easier.
Exactly. And just for the record, his position, I was a senior leader. He had lead on all of the IT folks at the 4 different sites in 4 states. And I said, so how's that working? He goes, I've already pushed it down to everybody. We're having a meeting on it. We're going to go over this. I said, okay, good, good,
Well,
awesome.
which rolls us to the next one, right? Talk about
Yeah,
setbacks,
let's talk about
right? So
setbacks. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nice segue, sir. Uh, a lot of times people say, "Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to bring them down. I don't want to bring them down." Like boo. I literally remember in my early days working for a boss, and there was like 5 sections, and we did a group thing, and that's how it worked. And we would deploy, and it was funny because 3 sections everything went great. The other 2 sections didn't go so great, and so, so is here was his approach. He said, well, we're gonna talk about ours. Well, I don't know. How'd it go for you? Good, good, and good. Okay, how about you? Not so good, not so good. Okay, well, 3-2, threes have it. All right, let's wrap up and go home. I was like, wait a minute. They got something to say. Nope. Hey, majority wins. Let's go. I said, this is not an election, brother. This is like
democracy wins.
right. We have a problem here. Um, and needless to say, he was a lost soul that went on to find something else to do about 6 months later because for this very issue, he never wanted to talk about setbacks. He never wanted to address them. So, when we discuss this leader task, talk about setbacks, that's an opportunity really for teams to learn from their mistakes. It's not about pointing fingers, it's not about blaming people. It's about, okay, let's talk about what happened. How did that happen? All right, and then develop your after action review. Put that together, and really, it's about improving the execution and scrutiny of the outcomes of an action. What happened? That's what it is. That's what an after action review does. And when you conduct that AR, especially when things don't go as planned, it sets the stage really for learning and growth. That's what's happening. Oh, that's why that didn't work this time. Okay, yeah, that was kind of first time we did it and testing it looked good, but you're right, that was horrible. And talking about setbacks as a team, and it's not like, well, had Carl had done, we're not doing that. What happened? Okay, did we find what the source was? What was that? Okay, so what do you think we should do instead next time? Okay, let's hear the thoughts. Come on, let's write this down, so forth, so on. But talking about setbacks for your team, that helps develop the cohesion. because we're all here as one team to solve this problem and get to what right looks like. And sometimes it takes a while to get to right because we don't know. We're experimenting, and that's okay. But talking about setbacks is going to develop that cohesion among your team because we're always depending on each other. Everybody's got an idea. Some ideas are always better than others, but we're not going to throw out any ideas because you never know when goal is going to hit the ground. Okay, that's just the way it works in life. But talking about setbacks is something that has to be a part of your day-to-day operations as a leader with your team. You can't just blow them off and think they'll get better on their own. They won't. So,
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that one?
No, I agree. I mean, having an AAR afterwards, after actual review,
Mm-hmm.
even if it churns up uneasy feelings in your tummy,
Mm-hmm.
because you're talking about setbacks or mistakes, and what
Mm-hmm.
has to happen, right? And that way you don't do it the next go around and
Right.
the next go around, and you're talking about it, and you're like, man, I wonder why this widget keeps breaking the same exact spot every time.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, and we just kind of breeze over it, and the widget keeps breaking the same spot, keeps breaking the
Mm-hmm.
same spot, and you're like, oh, we should probably talk about this. Why is it this one spot that keeps happening? Oh, the machine's turned 89 degrees, said 90.
Right.
Oh, that could be fixed.
Yeah.
That's easy, kind of thing. And then you get to hear from everybody, which is great, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're not quibbling about small things, you're talking about actions and what happened and what's
Right.
going on. Uh, and like, I don't like the way Johnny parks in my parking spot, and Mary took my stapler last week.
Right.
That kind of stuff. That's for a different
Right.
venue, right?
Right.
But you want to start it, right? You want to
Yeah.
start the AAR from the time the process started to the process pretty much till you sat down right here talking about the AAR. That's what we used to do them from the
Mm-hmm.
receipt till literally where I pull my chair up to this table and start talking about it, everything in between, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think one step that a lot of people talk about setbacks is great, um, but reviewing those setbacks for the next go around before,
Mm-hmm.
if we have a similar project, a
Mm-hmm.
similar process we're doing, similar whatever, go back and look at these AARs. That's why it's good to document them,
Mm-hmm.
look through them, and say, oh, okay. Well, Millie will talk about Mary taking a stapler. Okay, that's not part. That's not part of it. Okay, next. But we
Right.
can talk about it ahead of time, so we're not making the same mistakes 2 to 3 times down the road,
That's right.
costing time and money every time. So
That's right.
that's my nickel's worth of inspiration right there.
No, I think that's spot on, man. That's spot on. And I think leaders need to have the courage to stand up and do this and do it in a professional way. You nailed it when you said, look, this is not a blame game we're doing. We're solutioning. Let's
Yeah.
figure out what happened. And keeping it at that level as a leader is your responsibility. We're not going to had Carl had just stop right there. We're not going to finger point and yell, Carl. Okay, calm down. Look, what happened? And then we all solve it. So I think you're spot on. Well, that wraps us up for this episode of Getting Certified uh, and talking about being able to have an opportunity to do all the things we talked about here. Think back on yours, and those interested in getting certified and earning their professional leadership certification. We look forward to hearing from you, and happy to be here for you and get things done. So, Emilio, any final words?
I do. I have like several. Everybody has about 55 minutes left. I will continue with part 2. No, I want to make sure everybody knows that we have several courses starting for the RBLP exam prep,
Mm-hmm.
ranging from all the way from California all the way to the great state of Florida and up north somewhere. Anything above Tennessee confuses me. So up north, up that way. But we have several courses starting this Saturday and some
Mm-hmm.
on Wednesday nights and throughout the month. So if you're interested in looking at that, you can go to our website or their website and ask the question on that one. The second thing is, again, if you're ever wanting to look at these again, you'll be able to find it on Spotify along with our other shows, getting the work done, getting certified, and meet the certified. And if you are certified and you want to jump online with me and have a kickback casual conversation, it's in the newsletter. Hit that link. We'll talk. It could last from 10 minutes to we can have lunch together. You can eat during it. I don't care. It's literally
Yeah.
just us talking about what you're doing, who you are, just have a chat because we love talking to our certified folks. Again,
Mm-hmm.
you can find us on Spotify. YouTube, as we'll live in YouTube forever. iHeartRadio. You saw us on LinkedIn. You see us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. If you want to see us somewhere else, shoot me a message. Maybe we'll make that happen. So, but besides that, we'll see you guys next Tuesday, same time for the next module.
Getting certified. See you later. Take care.